This is the Brain Software Podcast, episode 227, coming at you from the Hypnotic World Epicenter, Toronto, Canada. I'm Chris Thompson, and today, Mike Mandel and I will be discussing AI and hypnosis and a ton of other interesting stuff. So stay right where you are. That's right.
Disclaimer. Some of this podcast, much of this podcast, has not been written by a human being, Lucci. But the real question is, whatever happened to that old tranquility we used to know?
These are days of victory,
and we are not witches.
Here we go.
So bring it on.
So please welcome to this here table and this here studio,
Hooah.
The man himself, the man who's particularly strong at all kinds of accents, the man who invented Brado. Mike Mandel, everybody.
The Varch. Yes, Chris.
How's that for a completely ad-libbed intro?
Really well done.
We usually
really
write
well
them
done.
in advance, but
Brilliant.
we admit it.
We've got a lot of stuff today. We don't have any promotional things to talk about, I don't believe.
Well, you know what I will say? Here's what I'll say about promotional stuff. I didn't wear the Pykthos shirt, but we started a sister company. It's called Pykthos, Pykthos. Pykthos sounds like a Greek word, completely made up from podcast episode
3 or something.
I don't know, maybe 55 or something way back. Hilarious joke behind the name Pykthos, but as we were discussing at Colonel Bastards when we were having lunch,
yes,
it sounds like pick those tools that are useful to you. Pykthos.com is a brand that we just created to help hypnotists and other people helpers build their online presence, websites, funnels, email marketing, all the advanced automations, calendar setups. So you can basically replace Kajabi and ActiveCampaign and MailChimp and Wix and Squarespace and Weebly and all the other stuff that you would need. Go to Pykthos. It's awesome. It's fantastic.
We make it easy for you to make it easy for others.
That's right. All right.
Okay,
let's go with the
that's
think
a new
tank.
joke. Let's start doing taglines.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Made up taglines. Okay, we're just gonna pre-frame here. So we're gonna talk about AI is really in the news, right? Artificial intelligence, Chat GPT, interesting stuff. By the way, I got to tell you some funny stuff about hiring people and catching them using Chat GPT to reply to me, which is kind of funny.
Chat GPT.
Chat GPT. GPT. Yeah, it's weird to say, but once you get it, it's normal. Anyway, apparently there's all these large language models out there, and they're very interesting. And so we're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss, I think we even had, do we have the note in here about allergy? Oh, yeah, allergies.
We have it,
no known causes and how to fix them, if you can, with hypnosis and NLP. We're going to talk about, what else did we say we're going to talk about, Mike?
Oh, yeah, a ton of stuff.
All right, well, let's just go into it. It's going to be a good podcast. So before we get into the content, we always do the 3 think tank words.
So let's have them, Chris. They are CLASSMATE, and this is from Savo Bukacek's actual think tank. CLASSMATE, PEGBOARD, and Voice.
Oh, I like it. Okay. So, and the objective here is to briefly discuss the words and then see how they work their way into the content that we're talking about.
Right. Because of the brain's pattern matching system.
To add more creativity and fun.
Yeah.
And silliness.
So much fun. Yeah.
All right. CLASSMATE.
CLASSMATE. Well, I think of CLASSMATE. I think of those guys we were just talking about when we did the podcast on things that annoy us. And I think of the two guys.
Oh, my goodness.
Who just wouldn't freaking use deodorant. But it was the previous codpiece.
Codpiece.
Podcast almost came out codpiece. Codpiece is a great word.
So
we're going to use that one more often.
Yeah.
Why don't we change it to codpiece?
Okay, sure. Yeah.
So what do you get from codpiece?
No, I'm going to go back to CLASSMATE. I'll tell you 2 things I get from CLASSMATE. One is things change, right? So sometimes things don't have to change. Like you have friends that were classmates that are still extremely close friends, right? And so sometimes that happens, but other times it's a reminder that relationships last as long as they last, and then you move on and you do other things. And similarly to, yeah, I know, but it's true. Similarly to things like working out or playing an instrument or having a hobby, when it's not fun for you anymore, you do something else. You don't have to commit to things forever.
So when playing one's instrument is no longer fun, one should stop.
Or perhaps play a different instrument or pick up a different hobby. But with CLASSMATE, it makes me think of relationships that ebb and flow, and sometimes you disconnect for a long time for people.
Sometimes they
sometimes forever,
but sometimes it just sort of happens. You can't. Oh, we're going to stay in touch forever. It doesn't work that way. People change. They move on. That's good. So we need to keep that in mind for the rest of this. Pegboard. All
right, pegboard. Think about pegboard. Reminds me of living in Dollard des Ormeaux, Montreal, West Island, and my dad had a pegboard in the garage where we had pegboard clips, and you'd hang all your tools from them and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So you could it was sort of like I don't know, pegboard, but that's when I was a kid what I learned what a pegboard was, and the idea of you can reconfigure your canvas if you think of it that way.
Well, pegboard is also in gym class, you'll remember, that you climb up.
Yeah,
and Mike Smith hated it.
Yeah.
And I remember the teacher, quick, Smith, up the pegboard. Yeah. And he just said, you climb up the bloody pegboard. Here's some Glasgow.
So that's actually, so we've got the whole idea of a rearrangeable canvas for tools and stuff. And then, so we had a pegboard in my gym class. Now, Mike, as you know, because we both have similar genetics, I think, in being like skinny kids.
Well, yeah, smaller. Except you stayed skinny and muscular. I've just sort of...
So when I was very insecure about being the skinny little kid, but as a result, I had very high ratio of strength to body mass. So I could do the pegboard like no problem, climb ropes, all that kind of stuff, where the bigger kids in class could not at all. So that actually gave me a way to feel better about myself.
Good.
So
you found an advantage.
Yeah.
Do you remember the rope? I was great at climbing the rope because Donald Thane in grade 6 taught me how, and I got really good at it.
Yeah.
Because you know how to lock with your feet. People don't realize, try to haul themselves up.
Like Jack the squeeze while you adjust your...
Yeah. But the thing is, what we used to do that was great, Mike Smith said they did that in his class too.
Yeah.
You grab the rope with the big knot on the end, and you call a guy. You call a guy. Say, hey, Bill. And you send it over. And he sees it coming. And he puts his hand up to stop. It always swings and hits him in the crotch every freaking time.
I know exactly.
Brilliant stuff. Every guy did that.
So pegboard definitely makes me think of, we're all good at different things.
Yeah.
And you can change things. Voice. You know what? Actually, this one reminds me of just right now thinking back to when we started the podcast, which is going so far back. And I remember when we hadn't started teaching together yet for Architecture of Hypnosis. You were still doing it with NLP Canada. And I got a really nice email from Andrea many years ago.
Oh, Andrea Gauthier.
Yeah, Andrea. And she said,
lovely girl.
How did you cultivate your voice to sound so good on a podcast like that? And I'm thinking, my voice, to me, sounds like crap.
Oh, no, your voice is very good. I have a crap voice. I've always had a crap, thin voice.
Here's the thing. This is what I'm bringing up. We all feel that our voices are crap when we hear our own recorded voice. Eventually, I just realized everyone feels that way, so I'm going to accept other people's external validation. When they say, oh, you have a great podcast voice, I'm going to go, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And just accept it.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think you have a great podcast voice.
Horrible podcast
You think you
horrible hypnosis voice. I could have been a better hypnotist if I had a better voice for it. One of these, like Pep.
So could Milton
Pep's got a voice
Erickson.
like melting freaking chocolate. He's got an amazing voice.
Yeah. And Foundations Live yesterday? That guy, Stuart. Do you remember him? Oh, no, you weren't in the room with him. We were in different breakout rooms with different groups of students. There was this one guy, Stuart, in the class. He's got a freaking...
You said Stuart.
I said it very weird.
Stuart.
Stuart, you have a freaking phenomenal hypnotic voice, buddy. So there you go. All right.
That's good, Chris. Yeah. Well, what a great start. So
we've had let's talk about automatic writing.
Okay, a question came in by email from Brandon, and he wanted to know. He said it's not in our academy. We don't ever talk about it.
We never
I'll talk about it. I have done some of this working with a couple of people, and I've attempted it through self-hypnosis as well.
Yeah. You were hired by a company and did some of this, didn't you?
Yes, the automatic writing was for a brewery.
Let's talk. So what the heck is automatic writing to start with?
It's also called psychography. Right. Automatic writing is typically done in a pretty deep trance. And when you do it, you do not hold... Give me your pen for a second.
So you would ask a person in trance to write something.
Well, you put paper in front. The key is with automatic writing, use a ballpoint pen is ideal or pencil. The old fountain pen would be useless for this. You have them hold it absolutely vertically. That's the secret. And then you're going to say that the unconscious mind will answer the questions. I've seen it where the person can carry on a conversation, and this is well established in the literature. And their hand will write. Their hand is writing. Now, it's not neat.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's open to interpretation, but the hand will write from a different ego state at that time. Now, this is related to what, Chris? It's related
ideomotor.
To ideomotor signal. Idea produces motion. So It is useful for some things. As Chris said, I did do this. One of the major breweries rented a nice place at the distillery district in Toronto years ago, and they wanted to check their new marketing campaign, and they got the idea of doing it on people who are hypnotized.
Yeah.
So they filled in a questionnaire first about the product and the commercials. Then I put them in trance. And they
had them do it again.
And they did it again. And some of them, their hands were just gone like Jack the freaking hand gone.
Hand gone, I like it.
Anyway, it's a way of getting to the unconscious. I'm not a big fan of automatic writing for the simple reason that ideomotor signals are easier. You'll get them. Or pendulum, it's all tied together, Chevreul's pendulum. Some people do it typing. I was at this fair once, and this guy was there. Okay, this is going to be the first time I'm going to say this in this podcast. And I'm going to limit it to this one time. Guy was a dick.
Oh, okay.
But
you don't even have to do a dick
He
chant.
had a thing you could put money in, and he would write all about people's lives and tell them all about their future and everything. And he'd just look at them smiling, and his hands would just fly. Well, basically, the guy was a really good touch typist.
Well, I said,
have you ever seen a Chinese typewriter?
I type without looking at the keyboard.
Of course.
I learned how in
you
grade
don't claim
9.
that you're psychic. Yeah. But have you ever seen a Chinese...
You just have to smile while you're doing it.
Chinese typewriter, there is such a thing.
Yeah, okay.
And I said, so are you telling me if I bring in a Chinese typewriter, you'll be able to do this? Well, it just starts hedging immediately. Whereas if it was some mystical power, he'd be able
That's
to do it.
hilarious.
But yeah. But all of that stuff is related. It is all psychography, not graphoscopy.
Psychography. There's a new word for me.
I had to look up the real term because I didn't know it.
That's funny. You know what word came to me? I was driving my daughter to school this morning. I was telling her how I heard the hair dryer on as she was doing her hair in the bathroom, and in my hypnopompic state, this is the word.
Yeah.
I'm lying in bed. I'm just starting to wake up. So when you're coming out of sleep and into full wakefulness, you have to go through sleep to something to fully awake.
Right.
And this, on your way out of sleep, as you taught me many years ago, it's called hypnopompic, whereas the other way around is called hypnagogic, going into sleep.
Correct.
And so, of course, I was explaining this to her in the car. I was like, I heard the hair dryer on because the auditory signal's coming in. And I start telling myself, oh yeah, she's going out tonight with friends and she's making herself look all pretty and beautiful, and realize a moment later it's 6:45 or 7:15 in the morning or whatever, and she's actually just getting ready for school.
Oh yeah, that hypnopompic state.
It's so interesting.
It is an odd thing. It really is an odd thing. I woke up on a couch. I woke up on my couch from an afternoon nap, slowly coming through hypnopompia.
Where did you think you were?
Well, I could hear Heather talking on the phone. And I thought I was in my office in the chair in front of the computer, and she was on the phone in that room. And I was like, okay, I'm in my sunroom. This is weird.
Let's do a fun challenge.
All right.
Okay, here's what we're going to... I just made this up on the spot, but it's going to be fun. And for the winner, we're going to send Mike Mandel Hypnosis t-shirt to you, the new brand. Really easy. Awesome. Okay, here's what I want you to do. Send us an email. You can send it to info@mikemandelhypnosis.com, because that way it'll go to both of us. And write us and tell us your most wacky hypnopompic state. Something that you thought was happening as you were waking up, but it wasn't actually happening.
All right,
it'll be fun. It'll just be fun, and we'll read a few out on the next podcast.
Yes, we will.
Okay, awesome.
Now, so all of these things, I said that this is driven by ego states. It really seems to me that one ego state is conversing, and another is below conscious awareness, still doing the writing. I worked with this woman. First time I ever saw this, I worked with a woman called Sylvia. Paul was actually a witness to this.
This sounds
and
serious.
It was.
Okay.
She was really messed up. It was in the presence of her doctor too.
Oh.
So brought me in as a helper with him. So we're talking to her, and she's smiling and carrying on a conversation, and her hand is just writing like crazy, and it was so eerie. The hand, she literally having a normal conversation. This woman, Sylvia, it said in the...
Was there some context that you don't want to talk about?
Yes,
okay, so there was some context of what she was instructed to write about.
No, she wasn't supposed to write about anything. She put the pen in her hand, and she's carrying on this conversation and smiling.
No hypnosis here? Or
no hypnosis. She was severely fragmented.
Okay, got you.
And her right hand is writing. We look at it, and it says, "For God's sake, someone please help me."
No,
it was pretty eerie. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so anyway, I hope she's okay. That's a very, very long time ago. People have asked, what about allergies that have no known cause?
Yeah, we had this come up I think inside of the MMHA Engage group. And we thought, you know what, this is a great thing to talk about on a podcast because we have a video on YouTube, and on our YouTube channel, I believe on the so-called NLP allergy cure.
Right.
That's its name. We didn't name it that.
It's really an immune system retrain.
Yeah, we really hate to call something a cure. But if you use a technique and the problem seems to go away and not come back, if you want to think of it as a cure, you're free to do so.
Sure,
right?
But we don't.
So, yeah, the NLP allergy so-called cure, it has a specific protocol. Do you want to explain it very briefly?
Yeah,
and
really
how
basically.
You normally pick a counterexample?
Sure. The problem with an allergy is the immune system is responding inappropriately to something that is innocuous. So we have an allergen in the system, whether it's, ragweed or bee sting, whatever.
Yeah. And the body behaves as if it's a pathogen.
It behaves as if it's a pathogen, and it treats it either locally
or systemically.
Systemically, which is when you get anaphylactic shock.
Yeah.
You're not going to typically get that from hay fever, but things like shellfish and so on, you can if you're allergic to them.
Bee stings.
So bee stings. That was when I went into anaphylaxis from a wasp sting.
Peanut butter.
It's been fixed by William Wood. So peanut butter, nuts in general. So when we work with this, we retrain the immune system. You can do this without hypnosis because all NLP has built-in hypnosis anyway.
Exactly.
So you have the person, basically you're getting a counterexample. So if the person, like Rick Green, who was allergic to cats until Dr. Viv fixed him
the
over
usual
lunch.
idea is you go, well, what are you allergic to? And he goes, cats. Okay, then you ask them to think about, well, what's something that is sort of like a cat in your own mind? It's specific to the client. They could say bunny rabbits.
You can pet it with no problem,
Or it could be a stuffed animal. It could be a
stuffed
puppy.
animal.
It could be cotton balls, like
a pound of cheese.
You ever have did your mom or dad ever bring back like one of those big bags of cotton balls?
No, don't even talk about them. I get a weird thing about them.
But it could be cotton, could be anything, right? A counterexample, the counterexample can only be created though in the person's mind if they know the cause of the allergy to begin with.
Well, this is it, but just pause on the cotton balls for a second. The reason I'm wincing is because Bob Gray, I couldn't handle cotton balls as a kid. I could feel them in my fingerprints.
The weird feeling.
It would give me, I call it chilblains, although it isn't. But Bob Gray
imagine putting one in your mouth
that's what he used to do.
Biting on it with your metal
put
fillings.
It in his front teeth and pull it through his teeth, and I just cringe. It was just so horrible.
Think about.
I'm glad you know what I mean.
If you need any evidence as to the reality of hypnosis, because this is a hypnotic thing, right?
Sure it is.
Your body is responding to this idea.
Yeah.
And I'm getting goosebumps just by thinking of cotton balls in the teeth.
Pulling it through.
It's like nails on the chalkboard.
They're sort of squeaking. I used to do the nails on the chalkboard when I did my brain software keynotes for corporate world.
Yeah.
And I'd say, I get fairly long fingernails from playing guitar. I said, it's like that feeling of the fingernails on the, and I do it on the paper. It's a flip chart. And people cringe and I say, there is no blackboard. No, it's a flip chart. There's no sound.
They're imagining it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how strong it is.
There's no such thing as hypnosis, ladies and gentlemen.
Another one is rubbing a balloon. My cousin Gary couldn't handle the sound of that. But the worst one, he'd get a pin and scrape it down a window. Pin on a window.
Why would that won't do anything?
No, it makes a sound. Just the
really?
tip. It's a horrible grating.
I've never tried that. Okay. I was just thinking like a window's too smooth. It wouldn't cause any vibration.
Point of the pin vibrates, right? So
okay. So it's like creating a resonance.
Anyway, so all of this, when you're dealing with an allergy, you want a counterexample. It's similar enough that the brain makes the connection.
So what if they don't know what's causing the allergy? They just go, I got some. Usually what happens is people go,
seasonal
I get
allergies.
Seasonal and I'm not making fun of it when I use air quotes. I just mean it happens seasonally.
And they're allergies.
It might be hay fever. It might be ragweed. It might, are they the same thing?
Goldenrod.
Right? It could be a bunch of things. And the person doesn't necessarily know what it is. So what should we do?
Well, that's a difficult question. You have to get the closest counterexample you can. So you could perhaps, if you can narrow it down for several things, what are you going to use as a counterexample for seasonal?
Well, I was, here's what came to me. The idea that, it's something in the air, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's airborne. So what other kind of gas would be innocuous? Well, how about, let's say the person says, I can breathe from a scuba tank, like obviously.
Right, or
okay, no
I
problem.
can breathe at out in the woods on a mountaintop or something. It's fresh
like
and clean.
Desert air.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to do that because unless you know, like if you know it's ragweed, or whatever, you can provide a counterexample like, smelling flour or something, something that's not going to cause a problem.
All I think you need to do, all I think you need to do, because the way this is working is it's causing the brain to map across, here's a safe example, do it like that.
Yeah.
Like, here's the safe thing, here's the problem thing.
Right.
Let's just treat the problem thing kind of like this safe thing that we already know is okay. So I don't think it necessarily matters that you know the exact cause. It's just that you give something to the brain as a point of reference.
Sure. And that's what it is. It is a frame of reference, yeah.
Air that you're breathing and exposed to, well, use different air. Desert air. Lake air.
I guess.
Not lake air. What is lake air? I don't even know.
Yeah.
You get the idea.
Well, you could even do it the context. Yeah. Where are you when this never affects you?
Yeah, exactly.
So be there now.
Exactly.
And of course, we're having
question.
the person behind the double dissociation of this supposed bulletproof glass wall, seeing themselves, and we're setting a bailout anchor on this person so they feel really great and strong and powerful. And we'll always look and say, just give me an example. Imagine you're getting that allergy. I want to see just a hint of it in their demeanor.
Yeah, you want to see
so we can look for artifacts of it later. Then we'll have the other you behind the glass. So say it's a cat. They've got the stuffed cat, a toy cat on their lap, and it's the other you, and it's petting it, and he's fine.
Everything's fine,
yes.
yeah.
And now a real cat comes in, jumps on his lap, and I'm still calibrating this person. Yeah, and he's petting that, and he's fine too. And there's no problem at all. And then
then we have
pulling
the
that other one
glass,
inside,
move away,
yeah.
and we reintegrate. The video's on YouTube, like I said.
This can be very quick. I said Dr. Viv did this on Rick Green at a restaurant for lunch. There was a cat there, and he had a bad cat allergy. The Rick Green.
Yeah.
She said, let's fix it right now. And then she sent me a picture of him sitting there at the table in this patio with the cat on his lap, and a big grin on his face. So it can work. Another thing I will say, my 6-step tapping can greatly reduce allergic response. I've not ever cured anything or gotten rid of anything in myself or treated it with anybody else.
We would never
where
claim
I've seen it go
anything.
away completely, but I have been able to reduce it. I suspect it's only because it must be hit from multiple angles.
Yeah.
So let's move on.
All right. What do we got? Because I know we definitely have a commercial break coming up at some point, just as a reminder.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we have cataleptic declension
you
induction.
promised to teach
I
a new
came up with
induction.
this the other day, and I've been sort of fine-tuning it. Remember Erickson in 1929? Well, of course you don't, because we weren't alive. But at the Clark Hall seminars, he debuted the hand levitation induction, where you're telling the person your hand is getting lighter. Imagine it's lifting. It takes forever, but you know what? It gradually moves towards your eyes. Your eyes close automatically. You drop into a trance. It takes a lot of work. So I said, why not do the hand de-levitation induction? So you have gravity working.
Yeah, because normally people are screwing up the levitation induction by starting to say something like
relax
and
completely.
just relax your hands completely, close your eyes, let every muscle relax. Then you start suggesting hands getting lighter, and it's like, come on, you just relax the crap out of that hand so much so that now you have to get back to, well,
normal
it can be
tonicity.
cataleptic relaxed, but if you have to start activating muscles to create a different sort of catalepsy,
you made it difficult.
And then ends up
it's
lifting.
like running a 100-meter dash, and you say, well,
just have a nap first.
Well, let me start by just putting on this weighted belt and these weighted boots.
Have a couple of shots of whiskey.
Yeah. No, it's not working. I'm not winning. Yeah,
exactly. So you came up with the hand de-levitation induction.
Right, and here's the
catalepsy.
great improvement on it. We use relaxation right off the bat.
Right.
This can be done online. You have the client completely relaxed in their chair. Focus on relaxing all the muscles. This only takes about 20, 30 seconds. Then put one hand in front of you like this. Now, maintaining the relaxation everywhere else, we're using apposition of opposites.
Okay.
This hand becomes rigid and cataleptic. I want you to intentionally do this. So you make it as rigid.
So we're gonna start by, let me make sure
relax everything.
I felt like we're still talking about the hand de-levitation.
Right.
And then
now we're
skip
teaching
that.
The new one.
We're only going into the new one.
This is the improvement.
Okay. So you start with completely relaxed body.
And they're awake.
And then you instruct them to
put one hand in front of you.
Right.
While you maintain the relaxation throughout your entire body. Tense this hand and wrist and forearm up so it's as tense as you can possibly make it.
Okay, I'm doing it right now.
And stare at it. Now let your eyes close. And as you gradually release the tension, your hand can sink down and you can fall into a deep trance. That's right. And it just spreads. Slowly releasing that tension. And the arm pulls down. way into a comfortable trance.
That's weird, Mike.
It's nice,
I'm just experiencing it, and then I'm talking about it as I'm
wide awake
halfway in
now.
it.
We are not witches.
That's cool. So the idea, we're completely relaxed. There's no, other than yes, that's in compliance, that's the normal stuff. But you haven't asked them to close their eyes. It's totally eyes open, just normal conversation. Just relax, do this, then hold up that hand. Now
focus attention.
Now we're not clenching with a closed fist or anything. We're just tensing up all the muscles, so you get like this.
Yes, and the forearm too.
Yeah, forearm, bicep, everything,
and everything else remains relaxed. And back and
then
forth.
You would close your eyes.
Yep.
I imagine.
And permit that hand to relax only as fast as it sinks down.
Oh, that really brings in elements of the clench induction.
It does.
Itself,
it brings in that. It brings in kinesthesis
and
right
the
away.
relaxation of the hands.
And by starting with the tension, it relaxes even more.
Oh, I love it.
I think it's proprioceptive.
I really like that.
Receptive or something.
It's clever ways of setting up catalepsy, because that's what you're doing here. You're purposefully setting up catalepsy without ever telling the person, I'm going to make that arm float.
Right. Instead, you just give them directions on what to do, and they do. I just want to point out, I've not looked at the monitor once.
I have. I was looking at myself. Yeah, here we go.
I have to. Hi. Okay. So, yeah, it's a good induction, and I think it'll be very, very useful.
So that we're going to put in the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy, which, by the way, we are in the middle, almost at the middle, of re-recording it. It's the 10-year anniversary of the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy coming up on, is it June 13th or 16th? Something like that.
Yeah.
June, we're going to go with the 16th. That sounds better.
It does.
June 16th, 2013 is the day we launched the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. So in just this will be published sometime in April.
Yes.
So
exactly,
we're less than 2 months away from our 10-year anniversary, and the whole point is we're re-recording it because, well, we're better at this stuff. We got better equipment, and we got better sound and better material, and it's awesome. And we're not even raising. We're not
going to do this every 10 years. I'm not going to do this when I'm 80.
I don't think so.
Dentures falling out and everything. It's not going to happen.
But we're adding so much more awesome stuff to it.
It's evergreen.
I'm excited.
Everything grows. Everything's more. You log into your library. There's more and more stuff there all the time.
That's right.
Excellent.
All right. So let's talk about what's next.
I'm going to get a book. So you stay on camera.
Okay. Are you? Whoa.
This stuff really.
Mike just about spilled everything off of the studio table here. Okay. So he is. I'm going to. What's the word here?
You're going to use.
I'm going to. What's the word I'm looking for when you talk about what someone's doing as they're doing it?
Narrative?
Thank you. I'm going to narrate. That's the word I'm looking for. I will narrate. Now, I'm going to narrate the fact that Mike has returned, and I spent all this time narrating about narration. All right.
That's good. This is a book, and I want to promote this because not only is Igor Ledachovsky our friend, but we have incredible respect for this man.
Here.
His teaching ability, his creativity is just phenomenal. I have his Deep Trance Training Manual, Volume 1, which is all about basic hypnotic phenomena. Really good, stable, solid, interesting, good, honest book.
You're still looking at yourself.
I am. I'm making sure I hold it without any glare. Are we getting any glare off of this? We're getting a glare off the watch. There's a glare. Any happier. So this is Deep Trance Phenomena, the training manual, rather, Hypnotic Gifts, Volume 2. This is a great book.
What did you write as a blurb for him?
Man, let's have a look. Here, you can read it because I don't have my glasses.
Okay, so Mike wrote a truly remarkable book packed with brilliant techniques, all delivered in Igor Ledachovsky's cogent and comprehensive style. This is a practical masterpiece that belongs on every hypnotist's shelf. I'm very familiar with Igor's many exceptional contributions. This book may well be his finest work to date. I'll be recommending it to all of my hypnosis students.
And I will.
Mike Mandel, hypnotherapist and hypnosis trainer, Mike Mandel Hypnosis, Toronto.
The Hypnotic World episode.
There we go.
Now, let me tell you why this is a great book. Hypnotic Gifts are this remarkable thing. You can meet someone at a party. Oh, you're a hypnotist. Oh, I'd like to experience hypnosis. You put somebody in a trance right there. Give them this wonderful gift.
Yes.
And he gives so many examples.
You know what it really
Somebody
reminds
says,
me of?
I'd like to sleep better. He's got a procedure. You can work with them right there. And when they go to bed, they sleep better. I mean, it's remarkable.
It has elements of...
Remarkable.
Speaking of it has elements of revivification built into it, I find, that whole process. Or am I thinking of a different process? Do you agree with that?
I'd like to know what you're talking about before I can agree or disagree.
Well,
what
just the idea of putting someone in an imagined state where... Well, in revivification, we take a pleasant experience and we have someone imagine it.
Right.
And it's similar in hypnotic gifts. You're putting someone into an imagined experience and then giving them some suggestions around it.
Yeah, I would say so, Chris. It gives an example. This one about somebody wants to sleep better. He has them, puts them in trance, has them imagine looking at themselves. And their other self is smiling at them.
Yeah.
And they keep looking at it until they start smiling.
Oh, I like it. Yeah.
Then they see the other them go and get into bed, get really comfortable, and they watch the other person fall asleep really quickly.
Yeah.
Then they draw that inside. I mean, it's this
which
kind of
has
thing,
this
but it's
unconscious
really
implication of the other you there that's actually you knows how to fall asleep easily, and you can learn that, and that's where the integration happens. And
Look at these things. Cloud bursting, the Monster Hunter.
That's awesome, man.
Skills series.
I'm going to be buying that book.
The Obliterator. It's just unbelievable. What would you like to discover? How would you like to discover how to remove obstacles and increase drive and resistance? There's the protocol, all in point form. This is gold. I don't rave about a lot of books, but I did with the Jacquins, and this is gold.
The only thing I'm going to pick on, and it's so minor, do you need a deep trance to do most of that stuff?
Probably not.
Probably not,
Probably
right?
not.
So it really is an accompaniment to Volume 1, where here are all the awesome things that you can do in hypnosis, even if you don't have a so-called deep trance. You can probably make a lot of that stuff work. But hey, why not shoot for a deep trance?
Sure, man.
Because
and you can help people too. You can give people these hypnotic gifts, cost you nothing, and make people's lives better and get them interested in hypnosis. And I think
bet you
great.
it's pretty good marketing if you're a hypnotist and you're looking for more clients and you can give people little gifts like that.
For sure, man.
I mean, it would be no different than when you were in your much younger days.
Shut up.
No, I mean like when you were in your 20s, okay?
Oh,
and you were looking to
younger.
get gigs as a mentalist and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You would probably, just like you do now, just for fun, but do you show people cool effects all the time? Yeah, you do. So would you whip out a deck of cards in your 20s and go, hey, cool thing, and then somebody goes, you want to come to my corporate event and do that on stage for a bunch of people? And you go, yeah, sure. Of course, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, mostly it was doing the stuff for agents. So they're freaked out by it, then they promote it.
That's it.
But do you know that evil guy I used to work with who shall be nameless?
Oh.
He actually said to me, we should sit down one evening, teach me a whole bunch of mentalism effects. He said, I will go into corporations and do them and then tell them about you. I thought, it's not going to freaking happen.
I love that.
It's an idiot. Okay,
It's
thinking
like,
I would do it.
Come over to my house. I'm going to give you a nice barbecue, and you could just teach me all your stuff.
It wasn't him.
Yeah, no, not that guy. I just mean it's
was
sort of
another
like that
bastard.
story. Just come on over, and I'll cook you a nice dinner, and you can do stage hypnosis show for me and all my friends.
Yeah, but
It'll be
your
fun.
wife and I will sort it all out. We'll have a nice dinner, and then you can do your little thing for everybody.
Just
And
come on over. I'll cook you a meal. And oh, by the way, I need a root canal. Yeah.
do that with your dentist or your mechanic. Come over, we'll cook you dinner, and you can rebuild the engine of our Porsche.
Oh, man.
So, anyway, let's talk about AI and the cards story.
So we've got these hypnotic language cards.
We're going to be careful we don't go over the line with what we say here.
Yeah, we're going to be careful about this.
And I'm really cautioning myself, not you.
The following thing happened. We'll keep all names out of it.
Yeah.
We have been selling these hypnotic language cards since 2018. I actually checked.
Wow.
Because we have to reorder. They're sold out. So I had to look for the original artwork. And since we're rebranding,
It's bugging me.
we redid all the artwork. And anyway, here's what happened. Somebody who shall remain nameless went on a YouTube live stream and was talking about AI and was talking about how ChatGPT, things like that, do a really good job at explaining things and summarizing and writing and whatever, but in this guy's opinion, wasn't very persuasive, didn't really understand the tools of hypnosis and persuasive language yet, and just, he happened to have bought these. He saw them online, bought a deck of our cards, and then thought, okay.
He is a hypnotist.
Yeah, he is a hypnotist. And then, I mean, he doesn't do hypnosis or anything but he's trained formally in it from years ago and is interested in the topic and thought, he saw our ad and thought, he just happened to mention us in the context of this AI discussion, going, wonder what would happen if AI was to learn the tricks of hypnosis. For example, I just happened to see this ad and then he mentioned your name. And so I bought the cards. He said some nice things about the cards being pretty good.
No, he said good. He didn't say pretty good.
You said they're good. Yeah, it's a good product, right?
Yeah.
And then he was talking about imagine what would happen when the AI, the large language model, LLM. I didn't know that acronym a few weeks ago, but when the LLM knows these tricks, what will happen, and will all communication generated by AI suddenly be hypnotic and persuasive and all that stuff. Anyway, the backstory of all that is we ended up selling something like 700 decks of these cards.
Really fast.
We're out of stock. We had to put up a disclaimer on the order form. This is kind of funny. So the disclaimer, due to very high demand, it's going to be delayed like 6 weeks. So you can still order them. We're going to give you a couple bonuses for free while you wait. And not only disclaimer, but there's a checkbox. You must checkbox, and it says, I agree, I understand the above disclaimer, and then I threw in, and I'm excited to get my free gifts anyway, kind of thing. So it's like,
right, nice.
People will order them and then go, well, when are these going to ship? Like,
look at the box you checked. Yeah.
Hello, McFly. No, seriously. Anyway, so there's
McFly?
That's the, Back to the Future. McFly. Anyone in there? McFly.
okay.
Marty McFly.
Okay.
Biff, the bully, used to knock
I met
on his
that
head.
guy.
Hello.
I met Biff.
Yeah, you met him?
Yeah.
It's Biff. That's a McFly joke. Okay, so what do we think about AI and the idea being, because we had some discussions with friends in this area, and my assertion, and I think you agree with me, is none of the, even though, yes, we would love for you to buy these cards, they're like $9. We only ship them to the United States right now.
Free
by the
shipping.
Way. And we don't ship them for at least 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But anyway, free shipping in the United States. But here's the thing. These are not magical things. Like, we did not make up this material. This is, talk about where did the material in these cards come from and where else can it be found?
Okay, well, let's look at a number of sources. Hypnotic language cards have been around since Zebu cards, Z-E-B-U or Z-E-B-U.
The original.
I have a deck. They're worth a fortune right now. But I got them in the 1990s. Then Jamie Smart put out some really good decks of cards. He put out NLP cards.
Instant Influence.
Buster cards.
NLP coaching, Ericksonian.
Happiness cards. And Ericksonian hypnosis and so on. He did a really good job, too.
And then I think he sold his company, stopped selling the physical cards. They're an app now.
Right.
It's sort of expensive,
but
they're very good.
The cards and the app.
I have them, too.
Yeah, you have all of them.
I just have 3. Back in the day, I ordered the 3-pack.
Yeah.
But I think it was still something on the order of £50 UK
it's
pounds.
Expensive.
I bought them at least 12 years ago. And it was like £50, probably like 70 or 80 Canadian dollars to get them in my hands.
A lot.
Which is why not only were they expensive, the different cards that were out there, but they're now practically impossible to buy.
For sure.
So come 2018, we've been recommending Zebu cards and stuff for so long, nobody can get them. So eventually I was like, why don't we just make our own?
Right.
That's
and we
what
did not
been doing.
read all the others. These are the stuff, we reverse engineered it. We said, what do we want these things to say? What are we trying to influence? And we use the patterns that we use in our own hypnosis.
Patterns, same stuff.
But as Chris pointed out, this is in copywriting books.
Yeah.
It's the same patterns.
If you go buy any book on copywriting or any training on copywriting from awesome copywriters, these techniques are in there. They're just used differently. They're applied differently in hypnosis,
which now leads to the problem, though.
Well, that's it. So we assert that I meant to check on this yesterday. I was just dicking around with ChatGTP, and I said, hey, tell me some of the most popular language patterns of Milton H. Erickson or from Ericksonian hypnosis. Okay. It didn't quite get the gist of my question, so it wasn't going to say to me, well, for example, I only want you to ... which is on the 4 of spades. I only want you to. It seems like inconsequential. I only want you to close your eyes and relax deeply now. That's a simple thing, right?
For sure.
You know, so when you use a pattern like that, it works really well. Anyway, the ChatGPT said things like double binds and metaphors and embedded commands and analog marking. So it knew all about this stuff already, but it just wasn't picking up specific patterns. But I bet you if you said, hey, can you give me some awesome phrases that I can use in copywriting to make my pitch more persuasive, it'll know copywriting principles, and a lot of this stuff will map across very, very easily. Like a double bind. I mean, it knew double binds. Well, here's an example on the 6 of spades. Would you rather X or Y? That's a double bind pattern, right? Would you rather finish listening to this podcast right now, or should you just go buy a deck of these cards first?
Immediately.
Like, there's a built-in presupposition there, and I'm disclosing it, so please don't email us and say, you're trying to trick us into buying. No, don't buy them if you don't want them, but if you do want them, you're going to wait a few weeks, but we'll send them to you. In the United States only.
Well, this is it.
So do we think it matters if ChatGPT or any of these models know specifically what's on our cards?
No, and the implication was that we have a responsibility to keep this out of the hands of AI, and we have a responsibility to warn everybody about it. And that's not going to happen because Chris and I and the Brain Software podcast, you might notice we are completely apolitical. Actually, I'm a political atheist. I don't believe in politicians. So as Leonard Cohen said,
I hate politics.
I'm neither left nor right. I'm just staying home tonight. And the bottom line is this podcast is like Switzerland. It's neutral. We don't get embroiled in people's arguments and, concerns and conspiracies.
We refuse to get triangulated, too.
We refuse to get triangulated. But there was an attempt to get us involved. We should put a disclaimer on our cards. Well, some things, do not use these for evil. And here's the bottom line. If you buy toothpicks, a box of them, it doesn't say on the back, warning, do not insert in your urethra. Can you put that on? Some idiot's going to go, hey, I wonder why not.
This is the thing with anything that can be used for good or evil, because obviously if you were an influential person, you could use it to help people, or you could use it for your own gain.
Yeah, power is so great it could only be used for good or evil.
We did a podcast on cults, and we did all these things, right? Persuasive people have done bad things. Right. Now, we believe in educating you on how to take control of your own life, build a strong critical faculty so that none of the crap gets through, and you can decide for yourself. And if you use these things to convince other people to do awesome things for their own life, if you're a hypnotherapist and you're using these cards to use effective language patterns to help people change, that's a great thing. But yeah, you don't go into Home Depot, buy a hammer and notice it says, warning, this is meant for nailing in nails. Please don't hit people with it.
Yeah, in the face.
Because obviously anyone who wants to use it as a weapon is probably already thinking, hey, this could be a weapon. Other people are going, it's a hammer.
I like the little,
I didn't think of that. Anyway,
on that note, before we continue this discussion, this is extremely.
We're not making fun. Light of the situation.
No, we are not.
Like we're really not.
We're just saying we are hypnosis trainers and NLP trainers and personal development trainers. That's our mandate. We don't get involved in all this other stuff.
Now, I have a thought. I want to just throw this out there because the question came up. Well, what will happen if? Whenever, let's say, a ChatGPT is writing something, it is writing it with hypnotic patterns or influential persuasive patterns. My assertion is desensitization, right? Now, I won't give you the metaphor I came up with
earlier. Glad to hear that.
Because it involved being a 15-year-old boy and exciting stuff. But let's say
I know the metaphor.
Let's say that I am constantly lifting a 20-pound dumbbell.
Yeah.
And I'm training my right bicep.
Yeah.
Which is injured right now. But anyway, training it. Okay, good. Okay, so eventually that 20 pounds, it's not doing anything anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a limit to its effect because it's not stimulating hypertrophy anymore, muscle growth, right?
Correct.
So it's just normal.
Yeah.
Well,
it's coping.
I imagine that if hypnotic language pattern became just pervasive, everyone was using it all the frickin' time, it simply wouldn't have the power that it has anymore.
Right.
People would be used to the idea of engaging emotions and offering suggestions and leaving double binds and using presuppositions and never-ending sentences.
It would be in the vernacular, it'll be in the zeitgeist to such a degree that it would lose its power.
And people would need to come up with new methods, new ideas, something unique.
And on that note, we have to go to a very relevant commercial.
All right. Tonight on the Dallas-Fort Worth Network.
There's a pattern on the window shade and stains across the floor, and the people that you listen to don't stick around no more. And you try to wash the stains out, but the kids despise your work. And your greatest innovation is your marriage to a jerk. And there'll never be a prom night because the sky is bleak and gray. So you argue with authority no matter what they say. Though the bells of last year's holiday don't jingle when you walk, you're sitting there just stuck on hold with no one that will talk. The chrysanthemums are lonely, and the shade of pink is wrong, and the hornets just might sting you if you try to sing that song. So you wash your hair in kerosene and brush your teeth again, and you'd love to write your memoirs, but you just can't find a pen. And there's snails in the cabbages and laundry on the line, and though it's only 9 a.m., you pour a glass of wine, and you warm another sausage in the cast iron frying pan, but the crows won't even eat it, so you serve it up to Stan. man, and you know that he's a lunatic who never really cared. So you head out to the garden and that rustic kitchen chair. But there's got to be an answer to these questions in your head. So you start to reconsider all the things you wish you said. So I say, Jenny, 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 I think it's time to sell some clothes at the church rummage sale where you once got a handout and put that $40 safe and sound and hidden underneath that pile of bricks and debris in the shed where Stan never goes, and take the money and use one of the kids' bikes with the banana seat and the high bars and slip quietly over the railroad tracks, and be careful of the pit bull over by the abandoned brick factory, and then make that sharp turn to the right where the milk store used to be before it burned down due to arson, and head down that slippery slope of an alleyway full of rainbow gasoline puddles next to the bail bondsman and kitty corner to the pawnbroker, down the stairs below the biker bar, and pick up a smooth one for yourself.
Jenny and the Smooth One, brought to you by ChatGPT.
Yeah, literally.
Well, that was a first. Commercial break sponsored by ChatGPT. Is OpenAI sponsoring our podcast, Mike?
I think so. The interesting thing is, Chris, I put in one Jenny and the Smooth One.
Yeah,
into
one of our originals.
And it generated that. But it was a little staggery on the rhyme, and I said redo, but with more with much more tighter rhyming pattern.
Yeah.
And okay, and instantly.
Insane.
And I read it, and like the puddles full of gasoline, the despair, the burned out laundromat feel to it, the waiting at a train station for a train that will never arrive. I mean, all of this, it completely nailed it. No wonder people are worried about it getting hold of our cards.
Do you think? Let's talk about the good side of this, though. Do you think? Because I don't know how much you're paying attention to all of this, and it would be really interesting to have some conversations with friends of ours who know a lot more than we do about this.
Yeah.
But check it out. So OpenAI and other models are already doing things like images, amazing images. You just give it a prompt, say, I need an image of, Cydonia. You could say, I want to have a scene set on the surface of Mars near Cydonia
with the pyramids,
the pyramids in the background, and it'll come up with some freaky deaky
But not
stuff.
ChatGPT. Like, there's one for that.
There's different models.
Yeah,
I don't know if I think ChatGPT. I think not Chat, obviously, but the anyway. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but cool stuff. Okay, then music. I was just actually on Twitter this morning, looking through a thread that somebody had made about all the different weirdly crazy stuff, like. I think it was a good example. Leonardo DiCaprio was giving a speech about climate change. Wherever you think about that, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
But here's what happened. They had the clip of Leonardo speaking. So the entire thing is just him on camera.
Okay.
But little demarcations, and they put little head bubbles saying, this is now it's still Leonardo on camera, but the voice is now Bill Gates. And then the voice is... what's his name from Apple? Steve Jobs. And then the voice is like you can make anybody's voice. He on camera's talking, but the voice is now, if you close your eyes, you would swear you're listening to Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or whoever saying the exact words. So audio and then music generation. So my question is, what happens when, first of all, the text can be generated and then can be intonated in a beautifully hypnotic voice? I want, think Siri, but I shouldn't say that too loud or my stuff will respond here.
That's right.
Think I call it Esri when I don't want her to listen.
Brilliant.
Think Esri, but way better, like AI powered. Could you generate self-hypnosis tracks based on what your needs? Hey, this is my situation. I would like you to generate me self-hypnotic give that was customized for you. You don't even need a file. It's just give it a prompt, boom, it starts talking to you. Hypnosis session. Imagine a smart person could even do intake stuff like, okay, got this. Now ask the following questions. Okay, now it refines what it does as a hypnotist. It can't calibrate you, obviously.
No.
One-on-one with a real hypnotist.
But
they
neither
can
any hypnosis recording.
Yeah, but I think it's going to make the idea of a hypnosis recording completely game changer. Like now you can have some pretty awesome customized hypnosis recordings.
And we're going to make sure we're on the cutting edge of that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting.
Now, we're going to draw this to a close pretty quick, but because we wanted to keep a shorter one today.
Yes,
a lot of recording
and we
to do.
lied to
Stuck in
ourselves.
traffic here. But let me just mention about triangulation again, because this occurs a lot. Triangulation is all this thing, you should do this, you should talk to that person. People who...
You need to, is another
if you
version
talk
of it.
to him, I know he'll listen to you. And like my friend Paul was worried about a friend of his who was sick, and he wanted me to talk to this guy about something. It's irrelevant. But I said, no, you talk to him. He's your friend. Well, I don't know what to say. I said, no, then learn. Here's your chance.
Yeah.
So when people try to involve us in stuff, that's triangulation. But there's the other aspect of this too, which is self-triangulation. I've just realized. That's where we intrude ourselves as the point of a triangle into someone else's relationship.
Oh, so we come in, and stabbing our way in.
Yeah. So by getting involved in something that we're not invited in.
Yeah.
So say a husband and wife are having they're going through a rough time or something, and a friend with all the right motives tries to triangulate him or herself. So they phone up one of the two and say, oh, I think the problem is this, and I think you need to do this, and I'm really worried about her, because that's triangulation too, because no one's invited you into the situation.
So if there's an argument of sorts, a type of intercourse between two people, and you insert yourself into...
You mean social intercourse, right?
Yes, I know. I did
Remember
that on
I used
purpose.
to say that to our friend Linda, and she was this really hot girl.
Funny.
And she and her husband, my wife and I would be over at the house, and she was really finicky about words.
And you said, I really enjoy...
And I said, Linda, I just want you to know how much I've enjoyed the intercourse this evening.
Yes.
She goes, shut up.
Just had to bring that up.
It's completely proper English.
Yes, it's proper English.
Social intercourse is talking.
Yes, social intercourse. So if a husband and wife are having a particular kind of intercourse and you insert yourself into it,
Shut
uninvited.
Up. This is the second time he's attempted this. Do you notice I didn't react
horrible.
the first time? He's tried the second time. But the bottom line is watch out for triangulation. Don't let people triangulate you to do things that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
You should do this. And the magic word is should. As soon as you hear should, recognize that someone else is imposing their values, their beliefs, their structure on your life.
And if you're doing it to yourself, it's a different ego state, perhaps, saying, oh, you should. Maybe not.
Yeah, that's the intercourse.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
so if you're having intercourse with yourself and different ego states,
okay, do not go there. Talking to yourself, he means. So, buddy, we're going to wrap this pecker up.
All right,
so why
let's
don't you give us the empowering question?
All right, let's do it. Where is it? Here we go. Empowering question for podcast number 227. What factoid or piece of knowledge jumped out at you in this podcast, and how will you apply it to your life for your advantage?
Wow.
All right.
I got a MetaFive for you, which is one better than a metaphor. I've alluded to this before, but it's such a good story. I think some of you haven't heard it. One of my favorite films was The Hurricane, which was Denzel Washington.
Oh, yeah.
Where he played. Have you seen the film? You ever seen the film? Yeah, Bob Dylan did this music. And so he plays Reuben Carter, Hurricane Carter, who was scheduled to win the middleweight boxing champion of the world. A racist police department jailed him. He spent years and years in jail, a lot of it solitary confinement, got to wear his own clothes in jail, would not back down. A phenomenal guy. He and I became friends. And I've said this many times. I won't dwell on that. But the interesting thing was we brought Clive Elliott over from England. Clive is a fifth Dan martial artist. He went to China and trained. He's been on TV shows. Super nice guy. An amazing, amazing martial artist in Britain. And we brought Clive over to do some training, hanging out with him. I picked him up at Pearson Airport, and he had just watched The Hurricane on the plane.
And you said?
And he said, oh, I saw this film. Have you ever heard of this thing? There was this guy, Hurricane Carter, and he's talking about it.
Yeah.
He said, you've got to see this. I said, Reuben Carter, Hurricane Carter. He said, yeah. I said, you want to talk to him? He went, what do you mean? I said, here, let me see if he's home. Picked up my iPhone because somebody else was driving.
Yeah.
Call him. And just by luck, he answered. I said, Reuben, it's Mike Mandel. Mike, my brother, good to hear from you. I said, I got a friend here in the car. Clive Elliott just saw your film on the flight from England. He's a martial artist. He's tough as hell, and he really admires you. And you said, put him on, brother, put him on. Clive Elliott, hello? Completely freaked out. It was just one of those golden moments. That's why we hang out. I give people golden moments.
Thank you.
And ChatGPT wrote that. Scary?
Thank you. Thank you for listening to a podcast. In fact, we're not really here right now.
Right.
This is all AI generated.
That's right.
Thanks for listening. This has been episode 227. We have been doing this podcast for a ridiculously long time.
Yes,
it's
we have.
still
It's
it's way more fun now than it was then.
Yeah.
Because I think we're better at it.
Yeah.
Or at least we're better at not caring if we're not better at it. And it's fantastic. So we hope you stick around, continue listening, because we're going to keep putting these out there.
We hope you've enjoyed the intercourse
and yes, there we go. Thanks again, and good night.
Brilliant podcast, buddy.